This is Outside of New York. In-depth discussions with members of the art world who live and work outside of New York. And here's your host, Craig Gould.
Kelly Cornell is a Dallas native who works as director of the Dallas Art Fair. Kelly studied painting as well as arts management and entrepreneurship at Southern Methodist University. While there, she became an intern for the art fair that she now manages. Co-founded in 2009 by Dallas business entrepreneur and real estate developer John Sughrue and independent curator Chris Byrne, the Dallas Art Fair has become the cornerstone of what is now Dallas Arts Month. The event offers collectors, arts professionals, and the public the opportunity to engage with a rich selection of modern and contemporary artworks presented by nearly 100 of the world's leading galleries. I recently spoke with Kelly via Skype from her home where she was caring for her 1-week-old daughter, Frances. During our conversation, we had the opportunity to discuss the evolving role of the arts in Dallas, the history of the Dallas Art Fair, what it takes to prepare for the event, how artists can participate, and the noticeable absence of corny dogs and henna tattoos. That's part of life, right?
Right.
So
we'll try and keep it quiet.
Oh, no worries. So Kelly, tell us a little bit about you. You grew up in Dallas, right?
Yeah. So I grew up and have lived most of my life here in Dallas. Went to grade school and high school and college. I went to SMU and studied studio art. And then at the last minute, I added on an Arts Management and Entrepreneurship degree as well.
Okay.
Which I would highly recommend, and I think was kind of part of my saving grace that really taught me about the business of art in addition to being a practicing artist, and how the two need to go hand in hand, how the business of art is so important to the economy, and that really taught me about how I need to, see the larger picture and not just be a practicing artist. And I mean, it was so interesting. It was a really new program at the time, and it, taught me about the nonprofit side and the for-profit side and how to make it a business.
Sure.
From either side, and I found it really important, and I think it's become a larger part of the curriculum at SMU as well, because it is just so important for practicing artists to know how to survive. I mean, it's a hard career path to choose, and it's very difficult to know how to survive in the larger world once you get out of the protection of school.
Sure.
So I actually started with the fair as an intern while I was at SMU, and from there, I worked a couple odd jobs after graduating, and then a position came open, and I jumped on it.
Great.
And I've been there ever since. Really,
oh my gosh.
And kind of climbed up the ladder, working with the fair and seeing how things grow within a company. And so that's been really interesting, is growing with the fair personally and seeing the fair grow.
I think, historically, speaking with artists, you'll typically hear them say that their education prepared them creatively, but didn't prepare them well for how to do what they wanted to do. Right. And so the reason you see those really daunting numbers about, only 30% of MFAs actually being practicing artists. Right. And it's they couldn't figure out how to connect the dots. And but that's a larger conversation. Tell me about your. Are you still creating work? Are you
Yeah, I do. And really just personally now at this point, I'm not actively trying to be actively pursuing my artistic career. And I've really kind of switched over mostly to the business side of things, but I do still create and do things like that as well. But it's not my main focus at this point.
I understand.
The fair takes up a lot, and I really get fulfilled from working with other artists so much. We work on a lot of collaborative projects with different artists for the fair.
Right.
And that, I find really interesting, just the problem solving of how to make things work out over a 4-day event on these large scale monumental projects that, quick and important, but also need to be, there's a lot of challenges from production standpoint and things that always are fun to solve.
So which, what is a project like that is coming up this year?
So this year we've got some different things. So this will be our 10th year actually. So we're working on a couple different programming things to really highlight that. We're working with an artist, Miwa Komatsu. She's with Whitestone Gallery out of Japan. Mm-hmm. And she's going to be doing a performance, a painting performance. This will be the first time for it to come to the U.S. And they're really interesting bodily performances. So we're working on that. We've got different programming that we're working on with the Haas brothers. So there's just lots of different things happening.
Sure.
I don't want to give away too much before the fair.
No, I understand. Last week I sat down with Joseph Havel and had a conversation, and he said that he was going to be leading some talks around the collection at North Park.
Right. Yeah. So that's a big collaboration for us with North Park that we do. And this will be our second year of it, full year. But we've been doing these monthly tours at the center of the collection, and they've turned out to be one of our best programs because we get people from all walks of life that attend, whether they're just learning about art or they're art professionals, or they were there 50 years ago when the mall opened and saw some of these pieces being installed. So it's really interesting to get people's history in connection to the art. And we work with artists, and we've had curators and writers and galleries, all sorts of different people from the industry talk about it and give their point of views.
Sure. That's great.
So Joseph Havel's actually our artist honoree this year as well. So we'll be honoring him at our Neiman Marcus kickoff party, and got some dinners as well planned. So he's our highlighted guest this year.
Yeah, I really enjoyed sitting down with him. He was just, we spent probably an hour and 20 minutes talking, mm-hmm. and I felt like the conversation could have taken 3 hours because his body of work is just so diverse that,
right.
The conversations just could have gone on and on. But when I was there, I was speaking with Tally Dunn, and she was excited about an installation that Natasha Bodwin is planning on installing there at the art fair. And so, but
yeah, a lot of our dealers have ambitious installations planned for the fair, whether they're solo presentations or dual artist presentations for the fair.
Sure.
So I think there will be some really interesting booths this year that are more focused than there have been in the past.
Sure. So like we said, you've been around the art fair for the majority of its life. So you probably know kind of the early workings of what early machinations put the fair in place, and so. It was founded in 2009 by John Sughrue and Chris Byrne, correct?
Correct.
And so, what were they thinking? What inspired them to take this on?
Yeah, so I know the story about how it came to be. So John and Chris really wanted to have an art fair because they wanted something that they would want to go to in Dallas. They'd been to art fairs throughout the country, and Chris was an art consultant and dealer, and then John was beginning his collection and had a strong interest in collecting art, and he wanted something it was really personal at that point, as to let's do something that would be fun for us to go to and that we think our friends would go to. So kind of naive in that sense of creating it, but it worked out really well. And that's been the mentality behind the fair as well throughout its whole life is that it's a really homegrown and organically developed fair. You know, we're not looking to franchise it and make fairs across the country and stuff. It's really personal to Dallas.
Right.
And we keep that at the forefront of our planning, is to, this is Dallas's fair, and
Sure.
we're doing it for Dallas.
Has it always been at the Fashion Industry Gallery?
It has. And, you know, John's in real estate and had the building and the place, and it was 2009, you know, so there was a financial crisis, so the fashion tenants were eager to get a break, and we, you know, and then the fair came in and kind of everyone held their breath, but artwork was selling and Dallas was somewhat resilient to that crash and things were moving. So then there was a second fair and a third and so on, as things improved. So, you know, I think a lot of dealers at that time were sending a Hail Mary pass, just seeing what would work, and things worked for them, and they realized that Dallas's economy is a little bit tougher, and, you know, that the art market especially, people were still willing to invest in it at that time.
Sure. It seems like I remember hearing that there may be a new venue in the future just because of the way the event has grown. Do I remember that right?
Yes, in the future. We don't have anything set time or place yet, but we're exploring options, and once we find the right option, we'll make the move, but we haven't quite yet.
I understand. So, you know, a lot of times when people, you know, it's funny, you know, when I talk to people that aren't exactly versed in the fine arts, and I say, oh, I'm going to the Dallas Art Fair this weekend, they'll say, oh, wow, you know, are they going to be corny dogs and things like no, it's not like that. So, you know, maybe for those that haven't been to the Dallas Art Fair before, maybe can you just kind of describe what the fair is and kind of its role in the arts? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we get that phone call too all the time about, you know, whether it's an outside fair or will there be henna tattoo artists there. So it's a constant struggle for us. But no, so the fair it's an annual event, and we bring in 100 modern and contemporary art dealers from all over the world, and it's working with art dealers, not artists individually. So they're represented artists, and it's all vetted, so high quality artworks that we curate and work on to bring to Dallas. So it's a really unique opportunity to see what is happening currently in the art world, what new works are being produced, and what new artists are emerging. Some of our dealers are more established and working with, you know, mid and late career artists, and some of them are working with new and emerging artists. So you get the whole span and a larger picture of, you know, what's selling at auction right now, what's hot on the market, and a breadth of price ranges so that you can really get a full picture about, you know, what's happening in this ever changing and quickly changing art market.
Sure.
At least for this month of April.
Right. So tell me about, you know, part of what you described there included the word curation. How do you guys go about selecting who gets to participate?
So what we've done is we've worked on an invitation and referral basis.